On behalf of United Consciousness, I feel privileged to welcome and introduce our next guest, Swami Shankartilaka Saraswati Ji. He is a monk, teacher of masters with a long experience in his life of the Dharma as well as in teaching of it. He has dedicated more than 30 years to the service of his teacher, Swami Tilaka Paramahansa, as well as to the institutions that he founded in his name in 1979. The very venerable is in this special phase of his life in sadhana known as the embrace of the tree or immersions in the forest, which means that he has removed most public activities, initiations and other responsibilities in which he has invested most of his life. He is dedicated to create teachings, manuals, to the translation of the classical text of Vedic traditions written in Sanskrit, and to occasionally participate in few very selected programs. Swamiji is a magnificent speaker having deep knowledge in the science of yoga from the therapeutic perspective, the psychological perspective, or his knowledge about the non-dualistic Vedanta philosophy on which he throws light in an unparalleled way over the most difficult passage to understand in the Upanishads when dealing with Brahman, being and non-being. His boundless energy and his brilliant theoretical and practical knowledge of the Tantra Vidya, according to Abhinav Gupta tradition, invite you to approach with enthusiasm to learn the cultivation of the Shakti, the primal one, and the awakening of the Kundalini Shakti, the expansion of the nucleus of the internal nature. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Swami Shankartilaka Saraswati Ji.
Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Aim Saraswati Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidanandamurtaye Nishparpanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Sri Satgurudeva Te Namaha. Sri Bavajaranga Te Namaha. Sri Tilak Swami Paramahansa Te Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shubharatri from Rishikesh, from under the main gates of the Himalayas in India. I'm disciple of the very venerable Swami Tilak Paramahansa, and my name is Shankartilaka Swami. In the beginning, I want to give my gratitude to the brilliant organizer of this great event, to the United Consciousness International Yoga Week, and to the esteemed chief guest, Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, President of the Indian Council for Cultural Relationship of the ICCR of India, the special guest of honor, Sri Puja Swami Sarupa Ananda Maharajaji, Dr. Sri Padma Hansa Yogendraji, Sri Dinesh K. Patnaik, former director of the ICCR, and now is our ambassador of India in Spain. Venerable Mahatmas, Swamis, Yogirajis, illustrious professors and scholars, experts, and enlightenment minds, and all the brothers and sisters who attended this international program. The topic is you are a signet, and thank you very much for that, because you give me the opportunity to share the inspiring thoughts that my venerable teacher took me 40 years ago on the banks of the sacred river Narmada in the Madhya Pradesh in the central India, about the Adhyatma Vidya, the sciences of the soul. This topic is named Brahmacharya, aligning to the higher principle of life. The practice of Brahmacharya is the foundation of the spiritual evolution of the Dharma of the Vedas, and therefore the great platform of advancement in the mysticism of yoga. It is this physio-psychoenergetic material based of the advances in the transformation by the sublimation of human nature in advanced towards its divine and brilliant nature. The emotional and vital wear and tear to which we are subject requires a recovery strategy for our essential elements together with adequate karmic purification, which reinstalled us in the Dharma. Brahmacharya is a Sanskrit term and concept that is ultra present in our Shastras, in our sacred scriptures, as a source of serenization of the mind, focus of emotions, and redirection of all our life. Brahmacharya is a Sanskrit term and concept that is ultra present in our scriptures because give us the opportunity to not only serenize our mind, give us the opportunity to learn with adequate qualified intelligence the sacred teachings of our masters and also to advance it in the sacred practice of meditation. The term, uh, the term tells us that we are moving and leading towards the knowledge of Brahma. This is the meaning of Brahmacharya, is to move towards the knowledge of Brahman under the compassionate and vigilant guidance of understanding Dharmacharya, means Dharma teacher, who will teach us how to learn to sublimate our vital energies and not repress them. Repression is the enemy of the Brahmacharya teachings and the chain of many traumas and haunts man through his life. In the yoga of the successful coronation of the mind, we learned the Pratipaksha Bhavana in three states: suppressions, substitution, and sublimation. When we begin to want to strengthen our mind and personality to make it suitable for a freer life in the fortress, we must restrict habits to take emotional space through action in order to begin the process of learning of substitution. When we have adopted the new habits of life and mortified our mind with a new spiritual energy coming from the holy name, the substitution process is built in us, created a new mentality and character. Otherwise, we will enter into failure and the repressive setback. When the mind is adapted to a new excellency, the Ojas Shakti is a Sanskrit concept, is produced, or the sublimation is produced of the intense energy, sequestering the obsession by a power hiding in it, which gives us Brahmatejasa, that is projected in the meditative life and is one of the causes the success of meditation. As Sri Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita, the chapter 6, in the verses 10 to 15, in which he considered that dedication to the teacher, the service, the sadhana, and the vital and emotional self-control are part of the brahmacharya, and they are essential to obtain the peace of nirvana that comes from meditation. Patanjali Maharishi teaches us in the Yoga Sutra, Brahmacharya Pratishtayam Viryalabhaha. When we are very well established in the brahmacharya, we obtain the internal virya who impulsed us to the enlightenment of the perfect peace. The life is reinforced with the bala shakti, means the strength, and we grow like a real human, very matured human beings. There's many references in the scriptures about the greatness of the brahmacharya, like an example in the Upanishads, when he say, Nayama Atma Balahinina Labhyaha. Is it not possible to attain it, the enlightenment, For who is destitute of strength? It's necessary to practice some discipline and sacrifices when our mind is occupied in many obsesses, desired and focalized in dispersed thoughts. We lose the strength of our mind. For that, the Brahmacharya is very useful. Brahmacharya is possible to interpret it like a celibacy, but Brahmacharya is more than the restraint of the sexual practices. Brahmacharya is the dedication of our strength and discipline to get all the forces, all the energies, collected all our capacities for dedicated in our work, in our goal, and to achieve our the excellency of our ideals. They are not purification in the spiritual field, in the Adhyatma Vidya, is they are not the present the name of Sri Rama. We say in the bhakti of Sri Rama Dharma. There are different understanding about how we conquer our mind. If our mind is full of our thoughts, is full is working with the subculture we get from our education, from our parents, relatives, friends, society, etc. Obviously, our minds always thinking in one platform, in one level, in one tendency. For that, it's necessary to cut this samsara of the continuous mistake about the concept of love through the emotional understanding. Brahmacharya is more than, than directed on sexuality in prema, in compassion and in purity, without any kind of unnecessary passion. But if we teach in the 21st century what is brahmacharya like, example, the restraint of the sexuality, maybe nobody want to understand properly what what things we want to say in the spiritual platform. It's better to teach the brahmacharya by the necessity to learn how to manage our emotion in a proper way. This is the best thinking to teach in the 21st century what is brahmacharya, and also maybe for all of us we are senior now to understand what is brahmacharya is to follow the regulation of our gurus, our tradition, to to listen the advices of our elders about how we need to manage our emotion in any field of the life. Sexuality is one of these fields of the life, but from the energy of sexuality we created the power of our thoughts, and we try to be free from any unnecessary boundaries and sufferings from bad karmas. Thank you very much for listening to my short speech, and I want to finish with one beautiful prayer in Sanskrit, who is connected with the Brahmacharya, with the respect to the teacher, and with the love to the Dharma. Om Vedamanchacharyo Intevasinam Manushasti Satyam Vada Dharmanchara Swadhyayam Pramadah Acharya Priyam Dhanam Ahritya Prajatantum Vyavashchitasi Satyanna Pramaditavyam Dharmanna Pramaditavyam Kusala Anna Pramaditavyam Uttena Pramaditavyam Swadhyaya Pravachanna Bhyanna Pramaditavyam Deva Pitrikarya Bhanna Pramaditavyam Matru Devo Baba Pitru Devo Baba Acharyo Devo Baba Atiti Devo Baba Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, respected Swamiji, that you chose to bless us today. Topic that you chose to speak, Brahmacharya, and the way you elaborated it from various scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads. You rightly mentioned that Brahmacharya is not only celibacy, it's a dedication to get aligned to the higher in life. As you mentioned, Atmavidya. I'm sure that whatever you taught will be heard in the same spirit as you mentioned. Thank you very much for blessing United Consciousness. Thank you.
धन्यवाद.
On behalf of
शुभरात्रि.
United Consciousness, on behalf of United Consciousness, I thank Swami Shankartilaka Saraswati ji for coming onto the platform of United Consciousness and sharing his views.